Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear. Okay, so we need our break. We need to rest for a while. But while you take your break, make sure you adalah jenguk-jenguk sikit apa yang kita dah buat. So what we are looking at today is where is it? We're looking at the management of liabilities. Okay? We started off with the management of working capital. So in that chapter, you look at so working capital is represented by the current assets minus the current liabilities. The figure you get working capital. Therefore, a business it means your current assets is more than the current liabilities. Okay, in that chapter, you look at how to calculate conversion cycle, okay, the operating cycle and the cash conversion cycle. And then we went into the next related topic. Okay, related to working capital is the management of current assets. And in that chapter, that was last week, you look at how we consider giving credit terms to a customer. So when you look at giving credit terms to a customer, you need to have several factors to check, like the income of the person, the character, the reliability, okay, or you could look at their credit rating. Then you decide whether or not you give the credit terms. For the customers that you give credit terms to, okay, like terms 30. Terms 30 means they have to pay in full within 30 days. Now, if you want your customers to pay faster than the 30-day period, you will consider giving a discount. So your cash discount in your terms now become maybe 2% if paid within 10 days. Otherwise, they have to pay in full within 30 days. So last week, you look at the calculation of what is the effect of giving credit terms on the profit of a business, and what is the effect of giving credit terms or changing the credit terms by giving cash discount. What is the effect of the cash discount on the profit of the customer? So that was the main focus of the management of current assets. Okay, basically the accounts receivable. Now this is the next component of working capital management, which is managing the current liabilities of the company. When we look at the management of current liabilities, then you need to look at several items which we consider to be current liabilities. So these are the items. Okay, you have accounts payable. So we have accounts payable management. Then the focus is going to be here on bank credit, short-term bank loans. And we need to do the calculations related to this short-term bank loans. Commercial paper, you would have read about commercial paper when you go through chapter 5 of accounts receivable management. Now, when you look at current liabilities, you also have commercial paper. So again, we will look very quickly at this. So whether it is covered in accounts receivable or in current liabilities, in whether it's covered in current liabilities or current assets, okay, the idea of the commercial paper is the same. It's just from which point of view you're looking at the instrument. And then we look at these two. The last two is basically theory. Inventory loans is theory. We need to do a calculation. Most of the calculation we're going to be looking at today is concentrated on this bank credit. When we look at chapter 5, okay, we're going to be looking at accounts payables and short-term loans. The short-term loans are usually, like in the case of promissory notes, for example, which are your commercial paper, they are unsecured loans. That means there's no collateral. Whereas some bank credit, maybe you have to provide a certain level of collateral. So depending on the type of loan that you take. So if we begin by looking at accounts payable, this one you don't have a lot to know about accounts payable. Now, last week we look at the problem from the company, your firm. Your firm ada customer berhutang and you give them credit terms. Now we are looking at this from your company. Okay, your company is now the customer of a supplier. Okay, jadi sekarang your company adalah penghutang. You are the debtor now. So as a debtor, you are given trade credit by your supplier. So the type of trade credit given by your supplier will be determined by your company's or your firm credit worthiness. Okay, so remember sekarang you are the buyer. As a buyer, you will want to get credit terms from your supplier, your creditor. So your supplier can give you credit terms such as net 30, net 60, net 90. And to motivate you to pay fast, your supplier may give you cash discounts in the same way that you saw last week. And you gave your own customer the cash discount. For the company, okay, your own company, your strategy as a financial manager of your firm, okay, when you get credit terms, your strategy is to delay the payment until the last day of the credit term. So if you are given by your supplier terms like net 60, okay, sebagai financial manager, you akan buat bayaran on the 60th day. You try to delay it as much as is possible according to the credit term. Okay. But the supplier will want to receive the cash early. So to motivate, okay, untuk bagi insentif untuk bayaran lebih cepat, okay, untuk dia terima tunai itu lagi cepat, okay, they give you cash discount such as what you have seen before last week, such as this. So this one means you get a 5% discount if you pay within 20 days. Otherwise, you have to pay your balance in full, your account in full within 30 days. Now, when you do this one, okay, yang up here, when you maximize the term, okay, kita bayar pada the last day given by the supplier. This is similar to borrowing from the supplier tanpa faedah, interest-free loan. So, for example, you buy from the buyer, okay, awak berhutang kepada, so you buy from your supplier, awak berhutang kepada your creditor sebanyak RM1,000, term net 60. So, you tunggulah sampai hari ke-60 baru bayar. You pay 1,000. Okay, tak ada interest. So, that is what we mean by it's similar to maximizing, having an interest-free loan from your supplier. The moment the supplier gives this type of term, okay, 5% discount, pay within 20 days, or else pay the full amount in 30 days. When you have something like this, then the financial manager has to decide what to do. Nak bayar cepat untuk ambil diskaun ataupun nak tunggu sampai last day sekali baru buat bayaran. When you have terms like this, you have to use this formula that you had last week, okay, to look at what is the cost for your company if they do not take the discount. Okay, the problem faced by the manager, the financial manager, the dilemma is like this. If they take up the cash discount, they will be able to reduce their payable deferral period. Okay, they reduce the payable deferral period. When you reduce your PDP, the result is that your CCC, your cash conversion cycle, will increase. So the manager doesn't want a CCC which is very long. You want the CCC to be short. Okay, so itu jadi problem dia. If you pay on the last day, that means you don't take the cash discount. You wait, you tunggu sampai 30 hari. Hari ke-30 tu baru nak bayar. When you forgo the cash discount, there is a cost, which is similar to what you did before when you look at current assets topic last week. You will have seen this formula. Okay, this formula A divided by 1 minus A times 360 divided by C minus B. So last week kita dah berjumpa dengan formula ni. Okay, so let's look at the situation here. A supplier of this company called Coco Shake Enterprise. It has given Coco Shake Enterprise credit terms like this: 3/15 net 30. It means get 3% discount if you settle your account within 15 days, or else you got to pay in full by 30 days. Interest cost on other sources of funds. That means if you borrow money dari tempat lain, your interest is 10%. So kita akan compare what should be the best thing to do. So should Coco Shake take the cash discount or use the maximum 30 days credit? If you use the maximum 30 days credit, means you forgo the cash discount. That's why we use this formula. Okay, the annualized cost of foregoing the cash discount. So A, remember A is the discount 3%. C is the maximum period, 30 days. B is the cash discount period, 15 days. So when you key in these figures into your calculator, right, you have 74.23%. Now, this represents the annualized cost to your company. Okay, sekarang remember, we are looking at this problem as your company becoming the debtor. Jadi kalau kita tak ambil cash discount ni, cost adalah 74.23%. Ini seolah-olah kita meminjam wang, kita buat pinjaman daripada supplier pada kadar faedah 74.23%. Okay, if you do not take the cash discount, that means kita tunggu sampai hari ke-30. Samalah macam kita buat pinjaman daripada supplier. So we compare the 74.23% with the interest. Okay, the interest kalau kita buat pinjaman daripada tempat lain. for example, a bank or a legal money lender, okay. Kalau kita pinjam dari tempat lain, kita bayar faedah pada harga 10% saja. So that is telling you, okay, that this company Coco Shake, okay, if you are a financial manager of Coco Shake, you should take the cash discount untuk mengelakkan daripada ni faedah 74% ni. Kalau nak buat pinjaman lagi baik, buat pinjaman dekat tempat lain, lagi murah, 10% saja interest. Alright. So, is there any question at the moment?
So far, madam.
Okay. Okay. So remember, we are looking at this in this chapter. We are looking at this from our company point of view. So our company is now Coco Shake. So if you are the financial manager of Coco Shake, you will be doing this calculation to see whether Coco Shake should take the cash discount or not. Okay. Last week we were looking at it from your own customer point of view. So customer tu dia pun nak fikir nak ambil ke tidak cash discount, dia buat calculation yang sama lah. Okay, so this is what you need to know when we talk about trade credit from your suppliers. Okay, to see should I pay my trade creditor at the last day or do I take the cash discount? So this is the calculation we do. Now, the other one where we need to do a lot of calculation here is with bank credit. So with bank credit, okay, you have three types of bank credit. Now, I'm not going to go into exact details of this because this is explained in the text. Our focus, okay, will be on this line of credit here. Okay, so it's sufficient for us to know that this is an informal arrangement. This type of credit is unsecured. Okay, that means kita pinjam tanpa cakaran. So it's unsecured credit. Sometimes, okay, you will see in the calculation, the bank requires you to maintain a compensating balance. A compensating balance means you must keep a minimum amount in your account. Your account cannot be zero. Okay, so sometimes when you go to the bank, okay, they require that balance in the bank should be a certain value. That is a compensating balance. So throughout the loan period, you have to make sure that this compensating or minimum balance is maintained. Okay, the alternative is to borrow through what we call revolving credit agreement. So revolving sebab bila you dah bayar, you boleh pinjam balik. The same thing. So they revolve. Dia macam berpusing lah loan tu. Then you have the other one which we use through promissory notes. Okay. Okay, so promissory notes will be issued by the company that wants to borrow money, and usually this one has a maturity period of less than 1 year. So we will get this one later. My concentration is on this. So this bank loans in your textbook, the majority of the example in your chapter 6 covers your bank loans, and you need to know two types of interest. One is called simple interest. The other one is discounted interest. So when you get a simple interest loan, okay, that means you just calculate the interest based on the amount that you receive. Okay, the amount that you receive is going to be the same as the amount you borrow. In this case here, then you just calculate. What you want to calculate is what is the effective annual rate, or sometimes dia panggil effective annual cost. Whichever the term EAR or EAC, they refer to the same thing. So in some calculations later, you will notice that the interest is 12% per annum, but the effective annual rate can be different, can be higher, maybe because of certain things in the loan. Okay, so I am going to switch to the Microsoft Word so that we can go through the calculations. So you will look at slide number 8. So this is slide number 8. You want to borrow 10,000 ringgit for 12 months. Okay, so this is the first one. And then we're going to do the calculation where we have the borrowing for 6 months only. The simple interest rate is 12%. When we calculate borrowings, effective rates, the effective annual rate is always the interest and the amount received. Okay. The interest is always calculated on the amount borrowed. Jadi, ini, the first one, A, we are borrowing for 12 months. So if you calculate the interest for 1 year, interest is calculated on the 10,000 that you want to borrow. We are borrowing for 1 year, 12 months, so the interest is 12%. Okay. Now, in this simple interest bank loan calculation, we will find that the interest 12% is exactly the same as the effective annual rate, 12%. Okay, so this is a basic calculation. If you want to borrow for 12 months, the interest here is for 1 year. When you want to borrow for 6 months only, then the same formula applies. Interest divided by the amount received. But now your interest is calculated for 6 months out of 12. Okay, 6 bulan saja. And you find that it is also 6%. Okay, sebab dia setengah tahun, effective rate dia 6%. Okay, so that's a basic calculation. Any questions so far?
Yes.
Okay, so I like to point out that whenever you do calculations like this, please make sure you remember to draw this line to indicate that you are dividing something at the top with a figure at the bottom. So this is the example from slide number 8. Now, the other type of interest that a company can get on its borrowing is what we call the discounted interest. If you borrow and you're given discounted interest, this interest is deducted at the beginning of the loan. That means pada permulaan you dapat pinjaman tersebut, interest tu terus dia potong. Okay, dia kira daripada amount borrowed and then dia terus potong pada permulaan pinjaman. Okay, so you will find that the amount of money that you receive on the loan is obviously going to be less. So you want to borrow 10,000. Okay. Now in a 12 months loan, here, the calculation of the EAR is the same. It is the interest divided by the amount received. Still the same. So the interest is calculated by taking 10,000, the amount that you want to borrow. Interest is 2% for 1 year. Unfortunately, okay, the amount you receive is not 10,000. The amount received is going to be less because kita akan tolak interest ni. Okay, interest here is 1,200. So kita tolak 1,200 from that 10,000. Okay. Effective rates in this case, what do you get? Okay, make sure everything in percentage. Huh? Okay, 13.63%. Semua dapat sama ke?
Sama.
Yes, madam.
Okay, good. Now that is if you borrow for 12 months. Let's consider a 6 months borrowing. So again, the interest must only be for 6 months. Okay, so the amount that you receive will have to be deducted the 6 months interest. So 6 months interest yang ni saya rasa dia equal to 600, is it? Okay, the interest. So we will deduct the interest for 6 months. And that's going to give you berapa persen?
Uh, 6.38%, madam.
Okay, 6.38%. So what you notice, okay, what you see, as I mentioned earlier, the interest, okay, is used to calculate here. The interest rate is used to calculate how much interest you pay. Okay, the interest you are calculating on is based on 12%. That's what the bank gives you. Your effective rate can be different from that 12% that the bank is charging because of things like discount, okay, on the loan. Okay, macam ni. When they deduct the interest immediately from the amount that you borrow, at the beginning, you are not getting 10,000. You are getting less than 10,000 side. In this case here, okay, amount yang you terima tu daripada bank adalah hanya 8,800. So if the amount that you're receiving is less, but the interest, okay, is 1,200, obviously that's going to increase your effective rate of borrowing. It is not 2%, it is actually higher. So whether you're borrowing for 1 year, or whether you're borrowing for 6 months or 3 months, the effective rate is going to be more than the interest charged by the bank. Okay, in other words, it's actually more expensive for you to take a discount interest loan. Okay. So anytime the loan period is less than 12 months. Okay, so in this example, this is 6 months. Kalau ada 3 bulan, 4 bulan, 9 bulan, then you have to adjust accordingly. So if it is 9 months, then it will be multiplied by 9 divided by 12. Kalau dia 3 bulan, that is times 3 divided by 12. So whether it is discount or simple, okay, the idea is the same. Okay, if it is less than 12 months, then the interest must be adjusted according to the length or the duration of the borrowing. So now what you have already done is that you have been told how to do simple interest calculation and discount interest calculation. So if you get a simple interest loan, okay, you will get the full amount when you borrow the money. When you have a discount interest loan, you don't get the full amount. Okay, the amount that you borrow, okay, will be less, okay, because the amount received will have been you have the interest being deducted from the amount that you borrow. So interest is always calculated on the amount borrowed. Okay, jumlah yang kita pinjam. When we calculate EAR is calculated based on amount received, pinjaman yang diterima. So in a discount interest loan, the amount received is usually less. Okay. Make sure you are clear about this. Simple interest and discount interest. So discount interest means you're going to get less when you borrow the money. Okay, so now you look at slide number 10. In slide number 10, we introduce this requirement of compensating balance. So remember, when we talk about compensating balance, it means you have to maintain a minimum amount of money in your account. Dia tak boleh kurang daripada compensating balance ni. So if you look at this example, okay, this is a simple interest loan with a compensating balance requirement. So you want to borrow 10,000 for 1 year. The interest is 12%. The compensating balance is 20% of the loan amount. So now we have two situations. The first situation is right now you don't have any money in the bank. Okay, so when you have no money in the bank, then we have to do certain things to our calculation. First, let's calculate what is the interest. Okay, interest rate is 12%. On the amount that you want to borrow. For 1 year, 1,200. This bank has a compensating balance requirement equal to 20% of the loan amount. 20% times 10,000. Okay, inilah sebanyaknya mana yang you nak pinjam, 10,000. So that means, according to the requirement, you must maintain 2,000 ringgit minimum balance in your account selagi pinjaman ni masih berjalan, selagi you tak langsaikan hutang ni, you must have 2,000 ringgit minimum. So, if you have a compensating balance requirement and we have a simple interest loan, okay, the amount that you receive will be the amount that you borrow. Okay, amount borrowed ni saya akan label sebagai B. Okay, selepas ni in all the other calculations I'm going to do after this. So amount borrowed label as B minus the compensating balance. So we want to borrow 10,000. Kita mohon dari bank 10,000. Bank say you must have 2,000 ringgit minimum in your account. So tolaklah 2,000 compensating balance ni. Which means you are only going to receive 8,000 ringgit. So if you can only get 8,000 ringgit, your effective cost of borrowing or your EAR will again still be the interest divided by the amount that you receive from the bank. So interest we calculated up here is 1,200. Okay, amount received is this, 8,000 saja. Okay, so jadi kita pinjam 10,000, dapat 8,000 saja. Interest 1,200. Correct. So we calculate, okay, everything in percentage. Now become what? How many percent?
15.
Okay, 15. 15? Semua dapat 15?
Dapat, madam.
Alright.
Dapat, madam.
So that is your effective cost of borrowing, 15%. Okay, so it's quite high. Okay, because you receive less. Okay, situation number 2. If you look at your slide, okay, you still have a simple interest loan. You have a compensating balance requirement, except now you have 500 ringgit with this bank. Okay, so sekarang ni you ada 500 ringgit dengan bank. So what changes in the calculation? Okay, you have 500 ringgit in the bank. Everything is the same. The interest is the same. Okay, the interest is still going to be calculated on the 10,000 ringgit yang kita nak pinjam tu. Okay, 1,200 untuk 1 year. However, the compensating balance will have to be adjusted. Okay, just now we said that compensating balance must be 20% of the borrowed amount. Now you have 500 ringgit in the bank. So minus the balance that you have. So this is 2,000. This is the required CB 2,000. You add 100 ringgit. So that means you need to have another 1,500 to top up duit yang dah ada dekat bank tu. So CB now becomes 1,005. So the amount received $10,000 yang dipinjam, okay, minus the new compensating balance 1,005. That means you will receive 8,500 from that bank. the effective annual rate, okay, is still going to be interest divided by amount received. Interest is still 1,200. But now you receive 8,500 ringgit. So sekarang dia jadi berapa persen?
For 14.12.
14.12%. Okay, so when you have some amount of cash in your bank account, this will reduce the amount of CB. So when you are able to reduce the CB, you can receive more. Okay, the amount received higher. So because the amount received is going to be higher, the interest rate is the same. Okay, you will find that the cost, the effective cost of borrowing is going to be slightly lower than up here. And dekat atas ni, you had no money at all in the bank account. So that means you have to put up the entire compensating balance requirement. Semuanya dia tolak terus daripada pinjaman 10,000 ni. So that's why the effective cost is going to be more expensive if you don't have any money at all in the bank account. So this is simple interest calculation with compensating balance requirement. Now in your chapter 6, the chapter will also show you how to do the adjustment if you borrow for less than 12 months. So I advise that you go through, okay, that the calculations for less than 12 months, just to make sure that you understand what is going on. All right. So simple interest with compensating balance. So maknanya lepas ni kita kena buat another one with a discount interest and compensating balance. But before we do that, there's something that you need to know when you do this type of calculations, which is on this one. This word. Okay, so when you read, you go through the example. Dalam example in the book tu dia ada soalan, you want to borrow, you wish to borrow, and then you need to borrow or you require to have a certain amount. When you need, kita tak boleh kurang daripada ni, you need to have 30,000. Then you cannot have a discount interest loan like up here. In this first example, okay, this is a discount interest loan. In a discount interest loan, kita tahu interest tu dia akan tolak daripada amount yang dipinjamkan. So kalau macam ni, kita nak pinjamkan 10,000, dia tolak terus. Okay, dia tolak dulu interest tu. Maknanya kita tak dapatlah 10,000. So now the situation become, you cannot have less than 30,000. You must receive 30,000 from the bank. So if you need to receive 30,000 from the bank, then how is the calculation going to be different? Especially, okay, this problem arises when we have a compensating balance. When we don't have a compensating balance for simple interest, okay, ini tak ada masalah. Because for simple interest loan, nak pinjam 30,000, kita akan dapat 30,000. But when you have compensating balance, kita mungkin taklah dapat 30,000 sebab dia tolak compensating balance. So we're going to look at this one first. Okay. You need or you require 30,000 ringgit. The interest rate, keep it simple, we maintain it the same, 12%. Compensating balance, 20% of the amount borrowed. You currently have no fund, no money in your bank account for any of the compensating balance requirement. So if we look at the first example, question 1. Okay, the amount that you require is 30,000. So this amount that is required will be equal to the amount borrowed, which is B. Because we got compensating balance requirement, okay, compensating balance adalah 20% of the borrowing, the amount that you borrow. So B tolak 20% or 0.2 times B. Okay, in case you're wondering, what on earth is that? Okay, this is compensating balance, which is 20% of amount borrowed. Okay. So in this formula, the amount required is 30,000. B tolak 0.2, okay, which is 1, tolak 0.2 is equal to 0.8 B. Okay. B represents amount borrowed. So keying in the figures into your calculator will tell you that 30,000 divided by 0.8 is how much? Huh? Anyone?
37,500.
37. So that means when you go to the bank dan you mohon pinjaman, you bukanlah mohon 30,000. You mohon 37,500. Okay, sebab lepas dia tolak compensating balance ni, you will receive only 30,000 from the bank. If you have CB, compensating balance. So you borrow 37,500. Okay. So once we have this, kita kira interest. Okay. Interest, this is simple interest loan. Interest is at the rate of 12% for 1 year. Okay, so in this example, we are borrowing for 1 year. So I'm going to be paying interest 1,500. Yeah. Betul?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Now, in case you're wondering, betul ke kalau compensating balance is 20% of the amount borrowed, and then you are going to get 30,000. Okay, then you check lah. Yeah, you check. So CB is 20% of the amount borrowed, 37,005. So you will find that this is 20% times 37,500. The CB is 7,005. Maknanya, the amount that you receive, okay, is going to be the amount that you require, which will be 37,005 B tolak dengan CB 7,500. So you get exactly 30,000. Okay. Now in the exam, you may be able to skip this step, okay, provided that your calculation up here is correct. So if you are not confident betul ke tidak, okay, you kira dah balik. Okay, kalau CB 20%, time borrowing 7,005, so that means you put it back into this calculation here, into this equation. B tolak dengan 7,500, dapat ke tidak amount required to 30,000? Okay, kalau betul, tepat 30,000, then your calculation is correct. Okay, otherwise, then you can go straight to show the effective annual rate. Same calculation, interest 4,500, interest divided by amount received, 30,000 ringgit received. So that one, okay, when you press your calculator, will give you an effective cost of, okay, I hope mine is correct, 15%. Dapat?
Dapat.
Anybody lost? Anyone tertinggal sebab internet lambat ke apa?
Dapat, madam.
Dapat semua? Okay. I assume that means everybody's getting it. Okay, so this is question 1. Now in question 2, same as in question 1, but now you got 2,000 ringgit in the bank. Okay, so maknanya nanti, this 2,000 ringgit yang kita dah ada dalam bank tu, kita akan tolak daripada compensating balance. So what does the formula look like? Okay, in question 2, okay, you are told that you currently have a current bank balance of 2,000 ringgit. So the formula is the same. Okay, you have the amount required is B minus the compensating balance. But now you got to adjust. Okay, the compensating balance is still 20% of the borrowing. So 0.2, so the 20% times B, the amount borrowed. But right now, you already have 2,000 ringgit dalam bank tu. So this is CB minus the bank balance. So the equation becomes 30,000 is equals to B minus 0.2B. So when you open the brackets, the negative becomes positive. Kalau dia positif, buka bracket tu, dia jadi negatif. Okay, so then the equation becomes 30,000. When you bring this 2,000 to that side here, dia tukarlah jadi negatif. Okay, B minus 0.2 B. So this is now 28,000 equals 0.8 B. So solving for B, we have 28,000. Okay, bahagi dengan 0.8.
35,000.
Okay, thank you. 35,000 ringgit is the amount that you borrow. So what you notice here, okay, adalah satu, the amount that you borrow when you don't have any money in the bank for compensating balance, the amount that you have to borrow is higher, 37,500. Apabila kita ada sedikit wang dalam bank tu, the amount that we borrow will be less, 35,000. Okay, so once we have the amount borrowed, we need to calculate the interest. Okay, so interest, we borrow for 1 year, 12%. Times 35,000.
4,200.
Okay. Then, okay, I'm going to be checking the compensating balance. Okay, check whether I actually got the 28,000. Sorry, the 30,000 that amount required. Okay, I assume my calculation is correct. You can go do the extra step like I showed just now. Okay, maknanya you kira balik compensating balance to 20% times 35,000 tolak dengan 2,000 yang dah ada dalam bank. And then after that, you calculate the amount received. Okay, when you take 35,000 tolak dengan compensating balance yang ke atas tu to check whether or not you get 30,000 that you require. So I'm assuming that my calculations here are all correct. So that means I can proceed to calculate the EAR, which is the interest for 1 year, 4,200. Kalau pinjaman ni for less than 1 year, 9 months, 8 months, then you have to multiply by the number of months for which is borrowed. Okay, so our example is 1 year borrowing divided by the amount received, okay, which is this, okay, because we wanted to receive 30,000, so we must divide by 30,000, bukan the amount borrowed.
14.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what we find is our effective cost or effective annual rate is lower. Okay, it's much lower. It's only 14%. Kalau kita ada duit dalam bank tu untuk tolak daripada compensating balance, it is higher if you don't have any money in the bank. So this is compensating balance for simple interest calculation. Is there any question with what we have done here? Anyone? Still lost?
So far, no question.
All right. Now, what I want you to be careful about when you're reading exam questions is you need to make sure you understand sama ada dia need ataupun dia want. Okay. If the question is need, then you must. If right up here they say you want to borrow. Okay, want to borrow means you are willing to receive less. Like in this earlier example here, we want to borrow. So pay very careful attention to the question sama ada dia guna perkataan want, wish, okay, want or wish is this. Need, require adalah yang ni. Okay, that means you must receive this exact amount. Okay, so then we got to learn how to do this one, this discounted interest. So tadi simple interest. So simple interest with compensating balance. Here we got discount interest with compensating balance. So here perkataan yang digunakan adalah wish, adalah sama dengan want. So you want or you wish to borrow 10,000 ringgit. Discount interest 4%, compensating balance 20% of the amount borrowed. So firstly, okay, this is A, this is B. A, you don't have any cash to cover the compensating balance. Part B, you got RM5. Jadi kita mulakan dengan A. So the amount that you want to borrow is 10,000. If you want to borrow 10,000, okay, assuming that you want to borrow for 1 year in this example, then the interest for 1 year at 12% is 1,002. Compensating balance required is 20%. 20% of borrowing, B. That is 2,000 ringgit. So when you have a discount interest, with compensating balance, the amount received will be 10,000 minus the interest, okay, minus the interest, 1,002, minus the compensating balance, 2,000. you will end up getting only 6,800 from your bank. That's the amount that you're going to receive. Okay, so jadi kita pinjam 1,000 bayar interest on this 10,000. And then dia nak recompensating balance. End up kita terima RM6,800 saja. So what is the effective annual cost or effective annual rate? So we take interest divided by amount received, 6,800. So what happened? What's the, how many percent?
One 17.65.
17.65. That's the effective annual rate. Okay. So this one, in the first situation, you don't have money in your bank. Okay, now you have in your bank account the current bank balance of 500 ringgit. Okay, so we will see the effect of this. Now the interest calculation is the same. Okay, you are calculating on 10,000, borrowing it for 1 year at 12%. So interest masih sama 1,200. What changes is the compensating balance that you are required to put or take out from your loan. So it's still 2,000 ringgit, sama macam ke atas tu. Okay, 20% of the amount borrowed. So this is where we get 2,000. But now you have 500 ringgit in your bank account. You akan tolak daripada CB. So CB you perlu top up sebanyak 1,500 saja untuk masuk ke dalam account. Okay, so then you maintain your minimum 2,000 ringgit there. So when this happens, the amount received will be 10,000, the borrowing, interest still 1,002. Okay, 1 year borrowing. But CB is now only 1,005. So this means you got 7,300 ringgit received from the bank. So my effective rate, okay, my effective cost of borrowing will be 7,000. Will be the interest. Interest is 1,200. Divide by amount received, 7,003. Dia jadi berapa sekarang?
16.44.
Okay, 16.44%. Okay. So this is an example of discount interest with compensating balance, comparing what happens or what is the effective cost when you have money in the bank and when you don't have any money in the bank. So this is slide 12th example. So for slide 13, again, dia guna perkataan need. Okay, need to borrow 30,000 ringgit. So we look at question 1. When you need to borrow a certain amount of money, okay, amount required is RM 30,000. So in here, you have no funds. So the formula is still B is the amount that you have to borrow. But because this is a discount interest loan, okay, remember discount interest loan, interest tu dia tolak daripada pinjaman tu dulu. Let's see. I did tuck it up there. Yes, I did. So borrowing is going to be B, okay, minus interest minus the compensating balance. So interest is 12%. Okay, again, we assume that this borrowing in this example is for 1 year. So 12% is 0.12 of B. Okay, so in case you're wondering what is this, ini adalah interest. Okay, kenapa tolak interest? Because this is a discount interest loan. Okay, di mana interest tu dia tolak pada permulaan pinjaman tu bermula, at the beginning of the loan period. Then you have a compensating balance requirement, 20%. So this is 0.2 of the borrowing. Okay, so this is CB. So the amount required is 30,000. So 1, okay, B is 1 minus 0.2 minus 0.2, we have 0.68 B. So when you solve this, solving for B is 30,000 divided by 0.68. So anybody got a figure?
44,170, madam.
44.65.
44,107.65.
So that is the amount that you will borrow. Okay. Tapi yang you dapat dari bank adalah 30,000 yang diperlukan. So you borrow this amount. From here, you are going to calculate interest. Okay, because if you don't calculate interest, then you cannot calculate EAR. Interest is 12%.
5,294.1.
5294. Okay. So that's interest. Once you get the interest, okay, you can proceed to calculate the EAR. You can, as I mentioned earlier, you can, for example, check compensating balance. Okay, lepas dapat compensating balance tu, okay, 20% times the amount borrowed, you will then take the figure and then masukkan dalam formula amount required equals B tolak 0.12 times B, the interest tolak 20% of B. Okay, just to see whether or not you get 30,000. So this is a check. Okay, a step to check whether what you have calculated up there is correct. But if you're then confident enough that everything is correctly calculated, we can then proceed to calculate the effective rate borrowing, okay, which is the interest, 5294.12, divided by this amount, okay, the amount received, sorry, 30,000 here. Ini. Okay, the amount that you need, 30,000. What do you get?
17.65.
17.65.
Yes.
Okay. %17.65%. Sama?
Sama, madam.
Okay. This is, ini situasi question number 1. Okay, so then we practice again and see what happens when you got 2,000 ringgit in the bank. Okay, how do we adjust this formula for question 2? So the formula is still the amount required, 30,000. Okay, tolak is equal to, okay, the amount borrowed, B, okay, minus the interest, 12%, because this is a discount interest loan. Okay, kalau kita simple interest loan, kita tak tolak interest, remember. Okay, then you have a 20% compensating balance. However, you are told in question number 2, you have 2,000 ringgit in the bank. So this is compensating balance less the bank balance. This is the interest that is deducted at the beginning of the loan for this discount loan. So this formula becomes 30,000 B, 0.12 B, the interest. 20% of the borrowing is the compensating balance, but now you have 2,000 ringgit. So, bila kita buang bracket dia, yang negatif tu dia jadi positif. So I'm bringing this 2,000 over to the other side. Becomes 30,000 minus 2,000. Then all this becomes 0.68 B. So to calculate what is B, how much is the amount borrowed? And that's going to be 28,000 divided by 0.68. So berapa kita pinjam ni?
41,176.47.
41
176.47.
41,176.47. Okay. So that's your borrowing. So interest will be equal to 41,176.47 for 1 year, 12%. $4,000 something.
4,941.18.
4941. Alamak.
0.18.
Okay, I'm jam again. I have to get out of here. Okay, saya masuk balik nanti. Okay, hang on for a while. So we were looking at this one, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what happened just now. So I think we were here. The interest. Okay, we were calculating the interest. Interest is apa tadi? 41,176.47 at 12%. What was it just now?
4941.1.
4941.18. Okay. So from there, the effective annual rate will be the interest for 941.18 divided by the amount received 30,000. Okay, jangan tersasul guna figure ni. Okay, kita nak amount received, bukan amount borrowed.
$16.47.
16.47%. So that is the calculation of the discount interest with compensating balance in two situations. The second situation is where you have some money in the bank to offset the compensating balance required. In the first situation, you don't have any money in the bank. Okay. So now, when you are given questions in the exam and they tell you you boleh pinjam duit daripada Maybank. Okay, Maybank let's say give you simple interest. Okay, tapi dia ada compensating balance. And then they say there's another bank also want to give you money. Okay, they want to lend you money, public bank for example, but public bank let's say give you discount interest and also has some compensating balance requirement. So when you have situation like which one do you choose? Pilih yang mana? So when you have to make a decision, you will choose the lowest EAR. The bank or the finance company that offers you or that gives you the lowest effective rate, that means that is the cheapest. Okay, low cost. That is the cheapest loan. Kalau EAR dia paling rendah. Jadi, you will choose the EAR, the bank or the finance company with the lowest EAR. So this is normally what you will need to make the decision. Okay, you do the calculation and you compare. Bank A, Bank B, then finance company C. Yang mana yang paling rendah? Jadi, you akan ambil yang paling rendah lah. That's the cheapest one. Okay, so that is usually what happens in an exam question. So I think we don't have time to get an exam question today. So I think what I want to do is I want to finish off. Okay, very quickly finish off this. Now last week you had commercial paper. So what I have here is I give you an example of a commercial paper. So it looks like a very simple document where somebody say that they promise to pay the finance company or the bank a certain sum of money. Okay, how many payment, berapa kali installment dia, 300, what is the interest rate, okay, how much is the amount untuk satu installment, bila dibayar, okay, then bila dia start, tarikh dia, until your loan, your borrowing is fully paid. So this is a very simple promissory note. So when we talk about commercial paper, an example of a commercial paper is what we call a promissory note here, as shown here. So this is usually unsecured. Okay, unsecured, it means you don't need to have a collateral or ataupun cagaran. And promissory notes normally have a maturity period less than 1 year. So between 30 days, 1 month to 270 days. So ni kiralah berapa bulan ni, dalam 9 bulan maybe. So to have a commercial paper, okay, the company, your company, okay, you as a financial manager can issue a promissory note directly selling it to the public, to the investors, okay, yang berminat untuk membeli ni, ataupun you go through a dealer. This dealer is like an agent. Jadi dealer ni akan jual bagi pihak syarikat tersebut. Okay, dealer placement. Okay, when you have commercial paper, you also need to calculate the effective cost of issuing the commercial paper. So let's assume that the company that we had earlier, Coco Shake want to issue 100 million ringgit of promissory note or commercial paper, maturity period 200 days. Okay, dia guna days. Then this is a discounted interest borrowing. So maknanya kita akan tolak interest tu at the beginning. Okay. Interest is 8% per annum. You're going to be using a dealer. Kita lantik dealer untuk jual, dealer akan charge all kinds of fees, okay, and various other administrative expenses, which amounts to 60,000 ringgit. So because we're doing math 253, we will always assume that there's 360 days in the year. So if we look at how to calculate the effective cost. For commercial paper, you calculate the interest and all the other expenses, okay, like dealer costs, administration costs, any other expenses related to the issue of the commercial paper yang dia kumpulkan under other. And then you divide it with the value of the commercial paper that you issue, 100 million in this example. Tolak interest, tolak other costs. This figure at the bottom here, value minus interest minus other costs, represents the amount received. Okay, in other words, you don't get 100 million, you get less than 100 million. Walaupun kita issue 100 million, we are going to get less. Okay, discounted interest means you tolak from that 100 million, and then you have all these other expenses that you got to pay your dealer. Okay, multiplied by the 360 days and the maturity period. Okay, this whole thing. Okay, that's why dia punya bracket ni besar ya. Okay, the square bracket is big. Everything inside here is multiplied by the 360 divided by the maturity period. So the interest is calculated as follows. 8% is for 1 year. We will borrow only for 200 days. Jadi pinjaman ni, interest dia kita prorate. Kita kira untuk 200 out of 360 days. 8% on the 100 million. So this is the borrowing. 444, 444. Okay, so for some Chinese, this figure is bad luck lah. Okay, so using this formula up here, interest 4,444,444 ringgit plus other costs 60,000. Okay, yang kat atas ni kita bahagikan dengan 100 juta yang kita issue, tolak interest, tolak other costs. This represent the amount received. Okay, and we divide this for the duration. Okay, multiply it with 360 divided by 200. That's the duration of this borrowing. Okay, if I punch the figures correctly, the effective cost of this commercial paper is 6.79%. I hope I calculated correctly. So kalau salah nanti you cakap lah. Okay, for this one, accounts receivable. So for accounts receivable, you can borrow money. Okay, kita boleh pinjam menggunakan account receivable sebagai collateral, sebagai cagaran. Ada dua cara, pledging atau factoring. Pledging means, okay, kita macam, okay, it's like you pledge the amount of the account receivable, okay, to the bank that gives you the money. In other words, when you do not pay, okay, if you are unable to pay the bank for the money that you borrow, bank tu akan mengambil alih account receivable tersebut. Factoring is when you actually sell the account receivable to the bank. Kita jual terus. So kita dapat duit lah daripada bank. Dia beli kita punya account receivable. So whichever the case, okay, you are borrowing money using accounts receivable as the collateral. Okay, now when you pledge, okay, pledging means, okay, like here, okay, you have credit sales of 300,000 ringgit per month. So we are assuming in this example that all the sales is 100% on credit. The credit term is net 30. That means all our account receivable must pay off the balance or the account by 30 days. So untuk setahun, the account receivable is 250,000. So what happened here in this example is that all this amount, 250,000, has been pledged to the bank, and the bank has agreed to give you 70% of this value. Itulah pinjaman dia, 70% of the 250,000. How much is the interest? 1.5%. 1.5% above the prime rate of 7%. So prime rate is the basic lending rate for the bank. So pinjaman ni adalah 7% plus 1.5. Maknanya pinjaman interest tu, okay, is 8.5%. And then they charge a processing fee every month. 1%. Calculate the effective cost. Okay, so do this one. Formula dia macam ni. The cost of the credit is the interest plus the processing fee divide by the amount of credit that is given by the bank. Okay, which they said they janji tadi 70%. So the interest 8.5% is the prime rate plus the interest 1.5. So the total annual interest is actually 8.5%. How much do you borrow? 70% of your accounts receivable. Okay, this is the borrowing, B. So interest is 14,875. And then tiap bulan dia ada processing fee 1%. 1% is calculated based on the sales. Okay, sales per month is 300,000. So ni fee ni, this fee is for 1 month, 1%. So for 12 months, 1 year is 36,000. So the amount of credit given to the bank, by the bank to your company, this is the borrowing, is 175,000 ringgit. So what is the effective cost of the borrowing? Interest plus processing fee divided by the amount that you receive from the bank. 175. Again, hopefully I calculated this correctly. It should be 29.07% as the effective cost of pledging the account receivable. Okay. The other one is called factoring. So factoring, you sell your account receivable balances either to a bank or to the finance company. So the responsibility after you jual account receivable to, the responsibility to collect payment will no longer be your company. Okay, kerja-kerja okay, untuk dapatkan bayaran daripada debtor tu is now jatuh, tanggungjawab dia adalah kepada the bank will do it. So how to do calculation of this one? Okay, so if you factor your accounts receivable, okay, so let's assume the accounts receivable is 250,000 ringgit again, 30-day credit term. Fee dia charge 1.5%. Then you have this what we call reserve. Okay, later I explain. And then the monthly interest on the loan is 2%. So calculate the maximum possible advance and the effective cost of credit. So for this one, okay, the value of the AR is 250,000. Credit term is 30 days. Okay, that means they have to pay back, your accounts receivable should be paying up the full account in 30 days. Okay, so let's see. So to get the amount that you borrow, okay, we have to do this calculation first. Face value 250,000, processing fee 1.5%, 1.5%. So this is the amount. Reserve 5%, 4,500. So ni tolak ni, that's the net value. Okay. 233,750. The interest on the factoring is 2%. Okay, this one should be for 1 year. Okay, 233,750 is the amount that you are going to calculate the interest for 675. Okay. So 233 minus this one, 4675, the interest. Okay, this is okay. When you do factoring, the interest is a discount interest. That means you don't get the full amount that you want. So 229 is the amount of maximum loan. Okay, reserve ni yang ke atas ni, yang 5% ni, 12,005. Yang ni, when the bank receives the payment from the account receivable, when they pay all everything, okay, account receivable semua bayar settle, duit ni reserve ni bank akan bagi balik. Okay, this is returnable to your company, 2005. So how much is the effective cost of borrowing? Okay, will be the interest plus the processing fee divide the amount that you receive, 229,075. Okay, ini you are borrowing for 1 month, 30 days. Okay, so 360 divided by 30 days. So the effective cost of borrowing is 44.13%. So this is example of when you borrow money using the accounts receivable. Now the final one here, in the same way that you borrow money using your accounts receivable as collateral, you can also borrow money using inventory as collateral, menggunakan stock sebagai cadangan, okay, untuk meminjam wang. So what you need to know are, okay, there are no calculations related to this one. Okay, what you need to know is what are the various types of inventory loan. Apa beza dia di antara floating lien agreement, chattel mortgage agreement, the field warehouse financing, and the terminal warehouse agreement. So this one I need you to read this up on your own because this is explained. So in case you're wondering dia keluar ke tidak, yes, dia pernah keluar sebagai essay, okay, or in the MCQ part A of the final exam. Okay, so that brings us to the end of chapter 6, which is on the management of current liabilities, which brings us to the close of management of working capital. So management of working capital includes the management of current assets and the management of current liabilities. So test, okay, please make sure you check test cover sampai mana. Okay, test adalah selepas semester break, sebelum cuti Christmas. Okay, so if you have not done anything, okay, you masih relax ke apa sekarang ni, okay, you have to start. Okay, jangan fikir one day I will learn, I will start practicing one day. One day is procrastination. Okay, satu hari nanti. Okay, change it to today I will do it. Right, don't wait to the last minute because you don't want today. You don't want to have this happening. Okay, you burn out by December. Okay, this is usually what happens at the beginning of the semester. Semua semangat. Somewhere along the midterm, by this week, semua dah rasa macam ni dah. Ni number 3. Right? So, I can't do any tests or final questions today. So, I'll tell you what we should try. So, ada soalan yang saya nak saya bagi. So, then you try it out. And we will go through them somehow. We'll find a way how to go through them with the limited time available. Because after the break, we will start on a new topic, which is time value. So, I will assign probably a few minutes of that time to cover some questions on CA, current assets management, and current liability management from the test or from the final exam. Is there any question?
No.
So, madam.